Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to another Gemstone Legends video, and in this video I want to talk about the new rifts. So we looked at the awakening feature in general in a previous video, so if you haven't seen that and this is news to you, make sure you go check out that video. But there are these 6 new rifts here, one for each of the 5 colors and one neutral color, this Moon Forest rift. The first 2 we had were about getting equipment, and these are about getting these dusts, and these you can use to awaken your heroes and make them stronger. So that's all in the other video. If you want to check that out, check it out in the description. I mentioned in that video, if people want me to do a tutorial talking about how to beat these different levels and to strategize for them, let me know. And a ton of people did, so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to look at the Moon Forest Rift, the Red Crater, and the Emeraldite. So each of these is quite different, and I think that was something they did that was really cool. They created unique bosses that take different approaches to beat. So it's not just the same thing, but it makes you think. And if you're having trouble with any of this, I'm going to give you some advice. All of these explanations are going to be focusing on level 20. The boss is the same for the most part throughout. The stats change, and some of the durations of the statuses can change. There might be some statuses that pop up in the later levels versus the early levels, but I think it's mostly the same. So that's going to be my focus here, because that's the stage that has the highest chance of getting the rewards that you're here to get. So first things first, we're going to be looking at the Moon Forest Rift. So let me flip over to my Photos app and we'll look at screenshots of the bosses and the totems, and that'll get us started. So if you haven't tried Gemstone Legends yet, come check it out and play alongside me. It's another really fun and deep strategy RPG like Empires and Puzzles, but with some fun new twists, and a lot of people from Empires and Puzzles have already joined. Not only can you help out the channel by using the download link in the description of this video, but if you enter the code #Spock_2021 hashtag in the global chat, you can get a nice starter bonus including gold, gems, gold scrolls, and a free epic hero Elidor, all valued at about 50 bucks. Once you join, you'll also get access to a set of beginner events where you can earn another epic hero Soliana, a 5-star legendary set of equipment, which is what you use to boost the stats and performance of your heroes, and a platinum scroll for another epic or legendary hero in the game. Those links and codes are in the description down below. Just be sure to enter that code in the global chat after finishing the tutorial within 24 hours of downloading the game, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Okay, so first things first, here is the boss. We're looking at 104,000 HP. Deals damage to all enemies based on attack. Deals unpreventable damage based on 20% of target's max HP. So you're going to get hit, and then you're going to lose 20% of your HP every time the boss fires. The passive recovers HP equal to 50% of damage dealt. Receives 50% less damage from bleeding, poison, burn, and assassin's mark. Immune to monochoke, stun, silence, sleep, and freeze. Okay, so decently dangerous. Any of these stages in the rifts, you want to end these as quick as you can, and sometimes you can go with a weaker team if they are super attack forward, because you can beat the boss before it even hits you. I think I'm somewhere in the middle, so maybe there's still stuff to be learned there. So feel free to share any of your teams below to help other people, but this is what I'm using based on the heroes that I have. We're not all going to have the same heroes. So where it gets interesting is when we look at the totems. So 109,000 HP, and again, these are colorless, or not again, I didn't say this before, but these don't have any color affinity, so all of your colors are going to be strong to them, so you can use whatever you want here, it doesn't really matter. Removes all negative statuses from allies. Receives 50% less damage from the same thing as the other one, basically. And then this one restores 50% HP to all allies. So that's 50,000, more than 50,000 per heal, which can undo a lot of damage. Receives, the passive is the same. So one is removing statuses, one is restoring 50% HP to all. And I think if I remember correctly, This totem is the one on the right side. Or maybe this is the one on the left side. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that they cleanse before healing, or they remove statuses before healing. So next, let's look at the team that I'm using for this rift and why. Okay, so here's the team that I'm using, and let's talk through it. Basically, the overall strategy you can think of for all of these, it may require a little bit of tweaking, but in general, attack up, wave clearing, defense down, 2 hard hitters is going to be a really good strategy. I don't have that exactly, so what I'm using is attack up and sort of a heal with Aurora. So don't fixate on the exact heroes so much as what they're doing, because none of us all have the same roster. We have to work with what we have, so just keep in mind the general idea of what's happening here and then use that as your jumping off point. So I have healing and attack boosting. Strybog is boosting speed and increasing the mana generation, or he's just giving mana to heroes every turn. Sophia is there to land defense down, and Finbor is my wave clearer, and Arthur is my hard damage dealer. The reason why I have Sophia before Finbor is because he, from my recollection, was not quite strong enough to clear the waves, but Sophia can one-shot any of the earlier waves, individual heroes, and then that gives her a 75% chance to land decreased defense, and then Finbor can clear the waves. She also helps for putting defense down on the boss, and Arthur can come through and just do some big damage. The key to this is the Onyx Dragon. So that 50,000 HP heal can be blocked, and I highly recommend you do so. And if your team is aggressive enough, you won't really need the healer dragon. But yeah, this dragon is absolutely a must for this level, in my opinion. And I think that just about covers it. There is some flexibility here. I don't claim to know everything. I'm just showing you what works for me and kind of my understanding of the strategy behind it. But you might have better success with a much more aggressive team, and that's something that's going to come into play for all of the rifts, is that if you're going to do your 65 auto battles there, that's going to take some time. So the faster you can do it, the less time your phone is sitting there farming. So speed can be a thing. I am not super fast on this one. Looks like, well, my best is pretty fast, 113, but it tends to be around 2.5 minutes maybe. And even, 1 minute difference over 65 auto battles is an hour of time on your phone. So keep that in mind. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this particular rift. We're going to look at the red rift next, and then green, like I said, and we'll save the other 3 for a different video. Okay, so looking at red, we have 97,000 HP on the boss. And this was a really interesting one. This was the first rift made available, and I thought the approach they took here was quite unique. So special skill resurrects all allies with 100% HP, so that's the totems. Grants increased attack to all allies for 5 turns. Grants Board King to all allies for 5 turns. So there's no damage being dealt here, but you have boosted attack and Board King, so the mana's going off frequently. Passive skill gains 20 mana at the start of her turn for every living totem, and she's resurrecting them, so keep that in mind. 40% damage, 40% less damage received for every living totem, receives 50% less damage, and so that's the same as all the rest of them. Looking at the totems, we have blue grants, and so the HP of these is very low, 8,000. Grants increased critical damage to all allies for 5 turns. So now that between the 2 of these so far, we have increased attack, increased critical damage, and Board King, which is quite dangerous. Restores 40 of the star mana's mana, which is 40%. And same passive as all of these have had. And then the green totem grants increased critical chance to all allies for 5 turns, restores mana as well. So they are just extremely dangerous with the tile damage, gaining mana. So killing the totems can be a decent strategy because, as we saw on the boss, 40% less damage received for every living totem, so 80% less if both are alive. So quite significant. Let's look at the team that I'm using here. Okay, for red, here is what I'm using, and I will explain my thoughts. First, we have Martin. The reason I think taunt is essential for this level, whether it be any of the other taunt heroes. Martin is my favorite, and I have him leveled up the most, so he's what I'm using. But their tile damage is extremely dangerous, and they will target your weak, squishy hitters first. So I highly recommend having a taunt hero that will keep the damage dealing part of your team alive, and he can stand up to the abuse pretty easily. Next, I have Strybog. This could easily be substituted with attack up, but I hate when the autoplay is going and they're like, 5% away from their full mana and they just keep missing those matches. So he is just a reliable way of keeping the specials charging and firing, and that keeps more damage going. Next, I have Zarkon. Zarkon is maybe not the best choice for this level, but he is applying defense down a decent amount of the time. He's keeping poison damage on them, which is keeping consistent damage going. And then we have Finbor, who is my wave clearer. He's just my strongest AoE hero, so I'm using him on a number of these teams. I could switch out Strybog maybe for an attack hero or Zarkon for an attack hero instead, but this is what I've been going with so far, and it's pretty quick. Finbor is also removing a positive status, so that's a way to get rid of the Board King or the increased attack or critical damage, any of that stuff. And then Cyril is doing the same. He's stripping their positive statuses away, and he's doing strong damage against the red boss. And if Zarkon has his defense down, then that is going to help with this increased damage as well. I'm pretty sure Finbor can knock these totems down in one hit as well, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So similar strategy, but I think the substitutions to make here: go back to the green dragon so you can keep yourself topped off with health in case things go wrong. In autoplay, who knows what kind of board you get or what weird things happen, so it's helpful to have some health when you need it. And taunt, I think, is essential for this level because they are going to be throwing some serious damage down, and being able to put a strong hero who can eat all that up is really helpful. So there's maybe some room for optimization. Again, share your thoughts below, but this has been working pretty well for me. I usually just farm on my iPad, which leaves my phone freed up, so the timing is not as crucial for me. So again, I don't claim to have the perfect team, but this is what I'm using. It's reliably farming this level, and it's decently quick. So next, let's take a look at the green rift. And last up, we have the green boss. Star sister. I can't bring myself to say that, so we're going with boss. Deals damage to all enemies based on attack. Unpreventable damage based on 20% HP. Burns 75 mana of all enemies. Sorry about my screen going to sleep. I've got it on low power mode, and I think that is one of the features of low power mode. But burns 75 mana of all enemies. That is significant, and combined with the passive ability, this one can be quite tricky, and I think that's cool. I think it's fun to have to think about it more, but it was interesting to notice. Only 80,000 HP, so much lower. Deals 25% more damage for every 25 mana the enemy is missing. So I think potentially 100% more damage if your mana is empty. So if she's stealing your mana and her special skill is chaining from one to the next, then you can be taking a lot of damage. Grants Soul Link to all totems for 6 turns at the start of her turn. This is a kicker. Gains Invincible for 8 turns. So she just sits there at 1 HP, stealing your mana, doing crazy damage with the totems doing their thing. And then the same passive that we've seen before. Looking at the totems, and one thing to keep in mind as well when you're planning these teams, you have to think about the colors. It's really important because if you bring, say your strongest sniper is green, and you bring them here, one, they're going to be weak to a, I meant to say blue if I said green. If your strongest sniper is blue, for starters, they're going to be weak to a green boss. And second, they're going to be attacking the color they are strong against, which in this case will be red. So you're just hitting the totems. So it's important to think about that from the perspective of the colors you're bringing and also defense down. Certain heroes like Ultan can be used for clearing waves. But the problem with that is sometimes the resistance of the bosses is higher. He lands defense down on one of the totems, and then now your snipers are attacking the totems and not the main boss. So that can be problematic. So keep that in mind. Oops. Gains taunt for 6 turns. So now they're taunting and not letting you attack. Grants Fortify to all allies. Restores 40% of the Star Sisters mana, same passive. We've got a blue, so you can't use green either. You'll just be attacking this thing. Gains taunt for 6 turns. Grants increased defense and restores mana. So quite a dangerous setup. Let's look at the team that I'm using against these, and you can see some of what my strategy is. And by the way, I don't think I showed my team earlier for the Moondust Rift, so let me show that real quick here. Attack up, mana boosting, a defense down hero who's going to target the boss only, my wave clear, and my strong damage dealer. So nothing too new here. And the benefit is that the defense down is only when Sophia kills an enemy, or it's only going to others aside from the one she's hitting when she kills an enemy, which is not going to be a factor on the bosses because she'll hit the boss. So green, here's what I'm using. Look familiar? So I've got attack up and healing. I've got mana boosting. I've got Sophia to be strong against green and to give defense down. I've got Finbor for wave clearing and status removal. There are those annoying statuses, especially like invincible. If he can remove invincible, then you can win. But if you can't, then you can't. So I think status removal is important for a number of these. For the ones we've talked about, green and red. And then I've got my really strong Arthur there for just doing big damage, especially once I have defense down. The interesting part is that oftentimes he's just hitting when there's invincible. They're already down to 1 HP and he's just hitting that same target. So clearing the statuses is important. That could be another... I could put a different hero on here to try to do more status clearing, but for now, this is what I'm using and it works pretty well. So those are the first 3 rifts. We're going to look at the other 3 in a future video. Let me know what you think of these. If you have any suggestions, like I said, I'm still learning the game. I don't claim to know everything, but I've had good success on level 20 of almost all of these rifts. So definitely doing something right, but could always stand to learn more. So hopefully this helps you. This is just kind of Rift Strategy 101, but I wanted to do it from the perspective of these unique bosses. The next 3 have some pretty unique bosses as well, and so I have some specific choices and specific recommendations, so make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on that video. Leave a like on this. It just helps out the algorithm, helps other people find it, helps boost up the channel, so I appreciate that. Go hit that like button. Subscribe as well. If you're interested in checking out Gemstone Legends and you've watched this far, then you are ready to play. It's in the description of this video. No more promo code that you have to enter. Just hit that download link and your bonus will be added automatically when you start. It's a great game. I think you're going to have fun with it. Hopefully this helps you, for the people who are already playing, clear these waves better. And as I mentioned before, if you didn't watch the video where I talked about the Awakening, make sure to check that out because I explain who it's for and who should focus on this. And I think that is important information, especially if you are a new player and it might be surprising to you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.